Greetings, hello, how are you? This is Kinesiology 214, and this is an overview of Module 2. Module 2 differs from Module 1, one main way. In Module 1, you had 3 sessions, one of which was more of an introductory session, and then the rest of it was broken into general adaptation, how the body responds to stressors placed upon it, the main muscle groups that you move when and use when you're working out, how you move and what planes of movement, and then what are the 7 main movement patterns. We started talking about flexion, extension, and we talked a little bit about single joint exercises. Now when we get into Module 2, we're going to progress that to where we're talking about single joint and multi-joint exercises and how they differ in terms of muscle that's brought to the party when working out. Also, you talk about phasing of exercise, positive, negative, and concentric and eccentric phasing, as well as isometric is another phase of muscular contraction. Sometimes it's easier to see in terms of multi-joint movement, how you can break down movement patterns to understand them easier and better when articulating that to a client. That's what we'll be focusing on sessions 1. And then when we go into session 2, we're looking at types of resistance. Every piece of equipment, whatever it is, wants to be pulled down to the floor. Gravity is a type of resistance. Free weights, dumbbells, medicine balls, kettlebells, all respond to gravity. When you look at selectorized equipment, a little different in terms of how the weight is redirected over cams and pulleys, but we'll be exploring that as well. And then we'll use that, what I call a modality matrix to kind of line everything up to see how you can kind of progress exercises and work a particular muscle group with different types of resistance to get a different response. In session number 3, which is really week number 6 of the course, and this is, I want to make a point in a second here regarding that, so just take note. The October 1st session, we'll jump into strength versus power, how they differ when you do a workout, how the time involved in the workout and the time in the movement pattern, that actually matters. And then you look at aerobic versus anaerobic, and you think of in terms of what's an aerobic-based exercise. Usually most people think of like cardiovascular training, and then anaerobic is strength training, and how when you use those two together, there's a bit of an overlap. But what ends up happening is when you look at training athletes, they're at completely opposite ends of the spectrum. The general population, you can definitely use aerobic and anaerobic training in your protocols with your clients. I mentioned this a little bit earlier up here with progression regression. We'll definitely jump into progression regression, how you can use these different tools that we're talking about to either progress a client in one functional area or regress them in another functional area. And that could be something as simple as use a BOSU to increase the instability component of an exercise, where you've progressed the stability component, but you usually have to regress the strength component and drop the weights a little bit. And we'll talk more about that and get hands-on in our lab there. There are specific adaptations to training depending upon the stressors you place upon the body. And that's really what we're after here, is having a body respond to a specific type of stressor to get a training response. And we've talked about that back up here in terms of in general adaptation syndrome. And adaptation itself goes beyond muscles. You have bones, connective tissue, the central nervous system, all respond to training. We'll go into that as well. When you're working with clients, you have to have a way to evaluate how they're progressing and how they're doing, or even what workload they're working at. So we'll look at ways to calculate performance, very simple ways to look at calculating strength performance and cardiovascular performance. Look at different calculations for the heart rate and different training ranges that your clients can work in. So if we jump in here and we look at this, so this is the week of September 14th to the 20th. Our class would be on the 17th. And when you look at the assignments themselves, you have, let me jump in here, boom, there we go. You have week 4 assignments, and then you have the content. So as I mentioned before, you have a content folder, assignment folder, and then you have supporting video folder if it's required or merited. And if we go into week number 5 here, same thing, content folder, week 5 folder, and then virtual lab and videos for the core itself. So when you get in here, you have to dig into these different folders to get where you're going. And this is a great example of how I went out, and I love Anatomy Zone. I've talked about it in previous lectures, but I've thrown in muscles of the anterior wall. Super easy. You can go to YouTube and go to Anatomy Zone, and they have an entire library, catalog of different videos that you can use. I subscribe to them. They're wonderful. Great stuff. And really very articulate and well-presented videos. So with that, guys, when you look at the second module here, I'm going to back this all the way up. And when you look at the second module, that's going to begin in week number 4, September 17th, and take us all the way to week 7, October 8th. Holy cow. And we're getting kind of deep into the semester at this point, right? If you look at what's going on, we're kind of halfway through. So keep your head down, keep working, keep getting your homework done, and look for another video on Module 3, guys. Have a great one.